Hi, you're listening to After Dinner Conversations, short stories for long discussions. What that means is we get short stories, we select those short stories, and then we discuss them specifically about the ethics and the morality of the choices the characters and the situations put us in. Why did you do this? What makes you do this? What makes us good people? What's the nature of truth, goodness, all of that sort of stuff. And hopefully we're all better, smarter people for it and learn a little bit about why we think the way we think. So thank you for listening. Okay, welcome back once again to After Dinner Conversation, short stories for long discussions, where we get short stories that we publish in our magazine, our monthly magazine, and then we discuss half of them. So half of the authors are thrilled and write us nice letters, and half of the authors are like, what the heck, man? Why didn't you do my story? You can buy the magazine for $1.95 a month through our website, afterdinnerconversation.com. We also have print anthologies and all sorts of stuff on Amazon you can find. I am your co-host Colby here with Ashley,
Hello.
as always, and Jeremy.
Hi.
Wow, that is a delay. Was that a delay, Jeremy, or were you just like daydreaming?
I was reading the story. I'm sorry.
You're reading the story. I don't think now is the time to read it. And Sarah. Hey, Sarah.
Hello.
You didn't do your homework.
No,
Okay.
I'm just reading again. You can cut that out.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. You can edit that out. All right, so our story for the day is Reach by Mark Braidwood. And it is a story about a poem, basically, a poem and a toy. So I guess I'll just really quickly summarize it. This was from our what month magazine? I don't even remember now.
April.
April magazine, thank you. So you can get the back ones as well. So it's a guy, he works in a company, they manufacture toys. Somebody in the R&D department or something was like, give this toy to your kid, they'll love it. It's not out yet. It's our newest, hottest toy. It'll do commands. You can talk to it and it'll respond and things like that. They have it, he opens it on Christmas Day and they talk about how the house is like full of toys and like there's not even enough space under the tree for all the junk. And the kid opens it and is like, it's a toy, you talk to it. The kid goes to talk to it. It doesn't do anything. And the kid's like, whatever, puts it aside, goes to the next toy because they got plenty of toys. The dad, when he opens up the back to see what's wrong with it, realizes that the person who manufactured it, put the batteries in it, put a note in where the batteries were that would like block the connection of the batteries. So he takes out the note and the note is written in Chinese. And so he takes it to a friend of his to have it translated. And it is like a haiku, which is Japanese, but it's written in Chinese. And it says, thunder rolls, leaves hang heavy, I bow my head. He then gets really interested in this. And through a couple of weeks of working through it, realizes the company figures out where their toys are actually being manufactured in China. They didn't even know. And he goes to check it out. He gets into the factory. He like sort of orchestrates this thing where he's alone in the room with one other Chinese person overlooking the factory floor. He pays the guy a wads, like a month of money, and has the guy read the poem in Chinese over the loudspeaker on the factory floor. And a woman approximately the same age as the narrator, who I assume is like 40s, I would think, stands up and bows her head. And then like really quickly, she like sits back down before she gets fired for doing this. And that's it. The guy on his way out, the lady bumps into him as like the shift is ending, and she surreptitiously slips him a book of like her diary or like a handwritten book. And then the story ends with him on the plane with this book of writing in Chinese and him thinking about like how he's going to get it translated and what he's going to do with it and all of that. And that is where our story ends. Did I miss anything? It's a pretty linear story, I feel like.
No, I think you got it right.
Okay, I got it right. Sarah, I got it right?
I don't think you missed a thing.
Oh, I'm a genius. Okay, so I thought the story was good. It brings up a couple of interesting points for sure, right? Like the main one being, who doesn't open up and check the batteries right away? But no, I'm just kidding. The main one being is like, do we need to know where our things come from? Like, do we have some moral obligation to, I don't know, like for equality, right? Like, is it fair that like my kid throws away this toy that they don't even care about? We've got all this stuff and doesn't even think about how it's all being produced by people who work like 12 hours a day for not much money, which is the way it's made out in the story. I have no idea if it's really that way now in China or if it's gotten better or not. But I think the poem is sort of a call for help, but I think that's up for debate as well, maybe. You guys are all quiet on this one.
It's interesting, and it's hard. It touches on a lot of things. So
okay.
I mean, you could definitely look at it as, is it a critique of capitalism or how we approach
consumerism and all that?
More than
I don't know. How did you read it, Jeremy? I mean, did you read it as a critique of consumerism or of something else?
Well, I mean, definitely a critique of consumerism and is in there. I don't think that's what it's about. It touches on it.
That's fair.
It's, an interesting, especially the way he approaches it, not knowing where the factories are and having to do research to find that out. Like, we don't even know where these are made. It's a contract with a third party company, and they just ship them to us. We don't know.
Right.
So
yeah, the factory's like 2 or 3 spaces removed from their company, right? Like they get them from somebody else who gets them from somebody else who gets them from this manufacturer.
Right.
Or something, yeah. Okay.
And they're doing the final packaging or whatever,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a commentary on consumerism and how our supply chain is set up in that sense. But again, that's not what it's about. It's just in that framework.
Sure. Then what would you say it is about? I guess that's the starting point of the discussion. Or is it not about anything? Is it just a story in your mind?
Yeah, it felt very much just like a story. Here's this guy and what he went through to find the origin of this poem, which he went to a lot of work. Why is he even visiting this factory? That doesn't even seem to be, he had an excuse made up, but he didn't really seem to be there for any reason.
So I have a theory about that, actually, that only occurred to me on my third reading when I read it yet again today. I think he went because the poem resonated with him in his life. Like, even though the woman stood up and talked about her, talks about her, like she's the one who wrote it, right? So the poem just again is thunder rolls, leaves hang heavy, I bow my head. Which to me, and I think everyone could interpret it differently, but meant that there's just a lot rolling over. There's a lot going on. There's a storm above me, and I just feel trapped in it, or I feel, I don't know, right? Like I can't control my life. I can't control what's happening. Which, when you read the opening part about his life and his Christmas, or even the ending parts a little bit, like I did wonder if he cared because, like, she's talking about how she feels and why that relates to her moment and space in the world, but he feels the same way about his moment and space in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't talking about his real reason for being there. I mean, he had to manufacture a reason to go to this factory for his company.
Yeah, no, he had to lie to the factory that he was like checking up on if they were whatever.
And his company.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go visit this factory. I'm going to manufacture this big marketing management reason to go check things out.
And didn't tell his family, didn't tell the company, like literally didn't tell anyone why he was going. Yeah.
Right. And, whatever the official reason was didn't matter. But he had to manufacture enough of a reason for everybody to be like, yes, this expense is acceptable. Go check it out.
Yeah. Why do you think he would do that?
Well, no, because there's some personal reason that he wanted to go there. And that's what I think you're talking about, his connection to the author of the poem.
Yeah. Yeah. Sarah, what did you think when you read it? What were your thoughts as you were going through it?
I felt like the story was pretty straightforward. It's
Yeah.
I think it's a commentary on consumerism, and I think that the lengths that the narrator goes to keep his trip a secret is kind of there's a danger to his journey. And not necessarily a danger to himself, but he's really concerned about putting the person, the author of the poem, in any kind of danger.
Yeah.
So he goes to really great lengths, so it kind of makes it feel like the government in China is very, very oppressive and keeps very close watch on people. Like he had that handler who picked him up from the airport, and he had to wait until his handler left to use the bathroom to pay off the guy to read the poem over the loudspeaker, you know? So
yeah. There was also a thing where at the beginning where somebody says, be careful what you do or who you talk to. You never know who's a member of the party.
Right.
Like it almost they framed China like it was North Korea or something.
It was
very Cold War Russia.
Yeah. Like Estonian Russia. Yeah. Sorry, sir. What you were saying? Well,
and then so if you look up the working conditions in Chinese factories, I feel like we've all heard about this.
Yeah.
But they are very like regimented and regulated, and they have to wear uniforms, and they work extremely long hours and have very little time off.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people live at the factory location.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, I think that the author is really trying to bring awareness to certain conditions.
Sure.
Maybe we should be considering where the stuff we buy comes from and how easy it is that we just toss this stuff away.
Right.
I also think that there's an imagery or a metaphor involved in the factory line where everybody is one tiny piece. You work on one very small piece, and this woman just happened to have access to the piece of this toy that would allow her to get her poetry out into the world.
Yeah.
You know, for some reason she doesn't have the opportunity to give her poetry to anybody. Yeah. And this is the only way that she can get herself heard.
That brings up an interesting question, Sarah. What do you think the woman's goal was by putting her poetry in the toy?
It really feels like she just wants connection.
With anyone in the world.
With anyone in the world, because at the end when she hands him her book, there's no exchange, there's no expectation. It's just, you know, you see me, you heard me, you came to find me, here's more. You know, like there's really no exchange that's happening.
Yeah.
No expectation of any further action.
Right.
I don't know if I have any evidence I could put to in the story for this, but my thought was she just wanted people to know that she existed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't coming to have you like kick down the door and save me or something. I'm not even sure I need saving. I just want you to know I'm here. That these toys are made by people or something.
Right.
That people exist. Yeah, I don't know.
Be aware of all the people who touch this as it comes to you.
Right. Yeah.
You know, the juxtaposition of that with how the child responds to how his kid responds to the toy.
Right. Very uninterested.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes you wonder how many times she's done this, put a piece of paper in a toy.
Maybe hundreds.
How many times she risked doing this and getting caught and that whole thing. It's kind of like you just got to find that one person, that one opportunity to change your life. Mm-hmm. I'd like to think that it was this one poem or this one instance that someone will see it and bring light to her as a writer and potentially, you know, getting her out of working at the factory if she is this great writer.
Yeah. Sorry, anytime anyone says one shot, all I can think is Mom's Spaghetti. From
8 Mile.
From 8 Mile, yeah.
No.
But I think that's part. That is what I think automatically. But I also think that's relevant to the story, in that need to exist that you do through art, I think is real, right? Whether that is rap music or painting or poetry or the need to just feel like I'm more than a machine in the line. which is I think is why they talk about how small they are, is because yeah, they're humans, but they're really just a human part of the machine, right?
Right.
I was kind of mad at the author because he knows how dangerous it is to even go there and then to single her out. I'd
Oh, you
love
mean the narrator, not the
sorry,
author.
The
sorry,
narrator.
Okay.
not the author, the
Yeah,
narrator.
yeah.
Sorry. I'd love to see the consequences of having her stand up because I bet you all eyes are going to be on her from then on forward
Mm.
to
Yeah.
see what was that whole exchange about. Here comes a foreigner who is overlooking you. Like she's going to be looked at
Right.
like a hawk.
I wondered that
And
too.
so that majorly concerned me. So I think his actions were quite selfish in the way that he kind of handled everything within the realm that he could. But
I wondered that too, because like what if she didn't want someone to come find her? Because the poem doesn't sound like "come find me." I mean, it could be, but
maybe
like
she just
what if
really
it got her
likes writing and it's a
right?
way to, it's like
Right. What if it got
writing a
her
pen
fired
pal.
because he felt some moral outrage for something that she didn't think at all?
Correct.
Yeah, I think it's a good
It
point.
was just a three line haiku.
Yeah.
Maybe she's like, oh, I like this one. Maybe a child will enjoy it. And that was it. Maybe that's the extent that she was trying to
Yeah.
spread her work. That was it. Again, it is a child's toy and written in Chinese.
Right.
And
What are the
so,
odds of some child finding it and understanding it even?
yeah, and I mean the haiku itself, I don't know if some like, 6-year-old
Yeah.
boy is going to be like, "Wow, I love this poem." No, he's playing with a robot. Like
I wonder if it's more because again, I have no idea. I wonder if she views it more as like like a note in a bottle,
yeah.
right? Like if the toys are like a way to like put notes in bottles and throw them out into the ocean, just to like because it goes into this ocean of commerce, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like I can't really fully draw on this parallel, but the way that the kid was like, doesn't function how I wanted to, and then tossed the toy,
Mm.
I feel like the author was like, all right, I saw what I needed, and then just bounced.
Hi, this is Colby, and you are listening to After Dinner Conversation, short stories for long discussions. But you already knew that, didn't you? If you'd like to support what we do at After Dinner Conversation, head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/After Dinner Conversation. That's right, for as little as $5 a month, you can support thoughtful conversations like the one you're listening to. And as an added incentive for being a Patreon supporter, you'll get early access to new short stories and ad-free podcasts, meaning you'll never have to listen to this blurb again. At higher levels of support, you'll be able to vote on which short stories become podcast discussions, and you'll even be able to submit questions for us to discuss during these podcasts. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being the kind of person that supports thoughtful discussion.
So I feel like I can't really fully draw on this parallel, but the way that the kid was like, doesn't function how I wanted to, and then tossed the toy,
Mm.
I feel like the author was like, all right, I saw what I needed, and then just bounced. Like the next sentence is after he leaves the factory, he's back on the plane, and I was like, that's it. That's the
Yeah.
extent of.
But he ends with saying the book is his like most treasured book or something. I think that's the end of the story.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so he literally kind of like did an exchange then, just like his son tossed one toy for another.
Mm.
Because in the very beginning of the story, they talk about how, yes, there's this abundance of presents. And the father goes, okay, I wonder which one is going to be the toy that sticks and
Mm.
which is the toy that goes to the basement, waiting to either be discarded, donated, or thrown away. Like,
Yeah.
and so I feel like, I don't know, in a way, he kind of did his own little exchange.
Okay. Yeah. I'm curious, Ashley, do you feel when you I mean, we all touch a lot of items every day, whether they're computers or sofas or clothes or whatever. Do you feel like you have any sort of obligation to like give pause to the lives where made this thing come into existence?
Oh, I think about that all the
Do
time.
you?
Oh yeah, whenever I'm like throwing something away, I'm like, I wonder how long it took someone to make this. Or like how much work went into this, craftsmanship went into it, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm done with it in the trash.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, I definitely think about
You know what
that.
I think of it, and this is kind of stupid, but I think of it with rice because we've seen enough
Mm.
rice fields, and I've seen how much
How
work
much
it is
work.
to make it. Like rice is hard work, right? And so, and then like
We overcook too much, and then you're just like standing over the trash can, like
right, and you're like,
this was probably a full day's work for somebody. Got to throw it away.
right,
Like,
because it's only like 30 cents worth of rice. It's like a big bowl of rice, and I'm just like, I didn't know how much it was going to expand.
and rice doesn't reheat well.
No,
And so you're just like, you don't want to mix the old rice with new
they're like
rice.
French
And
fries. That doesn't go well.
yeah, so that's a great example. I think about that.
Like
That's
the
why,
number of hours you throw away every time you throw away like leftover rice.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Really,
definitely,
leftover food in general.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
feel that way.
So I definitely feel like it would benefit us to pause and think of, what we're using, what we're eating, what we're consuming,
Make us better
um,
consumers.
to one, give thanks for it, understanding the effort that went into creating it.
Mm.
But I definitely think, um, if we took the time to invest which companies we purchase from, what they support, who they lobby to,
Sure.
the diversity of their employees, all of that stuff. I think if more people were awake to that, I wonder how much it would change people's habits. A great example is, Chick-fil-A against LGBTQ community, and how many people are like,
Man, but
they're
those
for
waffle fries are so good.
exactly. That's it. Like,
I hate that I like the if one company made made equal waffle fries, I wouldn't eat Chick-fil-A.
so it makes me question
You
how much
eat
of that.
Chick-fil-A?
Once in a
Oh,
while,
so
like once or twice a
disappointed.
year.
Like, I've seen the most like feminist, most like pro gay activist people out there, and they're just like, I just really like the chicken sandwich. And you're like, you know what you're supporting. And they're like, it's
Freaking
on the way home and it's cheap.
Polynesian sauce, man, that stuff is so good.
So that again, so on one hand, I think it would be great if we could be more
Yeah.
informed consumers, but I really, even if it makes one or two people out of 10 question where they're going to purchase their next item, I
Yeah.
think that's a win.
Yeah. Hey, so Jeremy, I'm curious, so you said you and Sarah both feel like it's a good story. Like it's good, it's fine. Is there something that the author could have done or changed about it to make it so maybe it would have had more like psychological punch for you? Like if I'm
No,
trying to like so for example, like if when that lady came and spoke and stood up, if instead someone had come and like, grabbed her by the elbow and like escorted her away, or like, is there something that would have made you, or if the people on the factory line had, or if the person in the factory line who'd written it was like 12 years old instead of, 35 or 40
Yeah,
or
certainly. I mean, any of those things. I think to make it more impactful, you have to have some sort of negative ending,
Yeah.
or consequences to his actions that are detrimental to somebody else or himself.
Sure.
Or something like that.
But yeah.
But but that's not necessary. I guess it depends on what you're trying to accomplish with the story.
I feel like he was trying to be even-handed with it. I think that's why that's not in there. He was trying to be a little more even-handed than you might normally be if you're trying to like write like, they're clubbing dolphins sort of short story.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, Sarah, did I scare you with my clubbing dolphins?
I wonder, I would have liked to have known more of why that particular haiku really resonated with him.
Yeah.
Gone a little bit deeper in that.
Yeah.
And just knowing the way that I read it, I was like, thunder rolls, leaves are heavy, I bow my head. And I'm like, maybe she's thankful that it's raining. Like she's bowing her head, giving thanks. Like I read it very literal. I was like, maybe they were in a drought. Yay, rain. And she's like, yay. Like, that's how I interpreted it. And it's interesting to see, to have seen how the narrator interpreted it.
But I think that's also one of the clever things about the poem is it's just vague enough that it's very flexible, right?
Yes.
Like it could be read as a call for help. It could be read as a like I'm stuck in a life. It could be read as
I prayed for rain, we got it.
right,
Yay.
a joyous thing, maybe. Which is also why I think it's interesting that the author goes through all the trouble for all these lies, like you say, Jeremy, to like go and find him.
Right.
Yeah. Sarah, you look like are you still
There's
thinking
a-
about your paper that you wrote?
No, there's still more metaphor in here, and it's right from
Yeah.
the very beginning. And I was thinking about what you said with the message in a bottle
Yeah.
idea. He starts to use an ocean metaphor right from the very
Mhm.
first sentence. And then just a paragraph lower, there's a template metaphor. So I think that this author has actually really poetically written this story,
Yes.
but it's
the writing.
really, yeah, it's very, it's almost like mathematical. So it
Yeah.
reads
Mhm.
literally, but you've got to read it like 6 or 7 times to really find it. And I think that I think that her putting the poem out there is just it. Oh man, it was on the tip of my tongue a second ago. These robots that they are making in this factory are carbon copies of each other. They are a template. They're the same exact thing. One right after the other, right after the other, right after the other. And by taking this tiny little haiku and putting it in the battery compartment of this robot, she's made it different. She's made it unique in a way. And even if other people get these robots and they find the little note and they never do anything with it, they do on some level realize that they found something unique and special. Right?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in a way, she's creating not just the art in writing her poetry, but she's creating an art out of the act of taking something that is carbon copy and
Making it unique in that way.
exactly making it unique.
Which is a very human thing to do, right?
Right, and it's interesting. And she doesn't. I don't think it's an incredible risk. He seems to make it to be this really big risk to call her out in a way. And I think that it's okay because she takes an even bigger risk at the end by slipping him the book. So
Yeah.
there's a transaction that happens there. I'm trying to really kind of feel out where the author's intent was behind making such a huge deal about the danger involved in this expedition to go and visit this woman, to go and find the author of the poem.
Yeah.
So I'm still a little bit lost about that. But I see a lot of like, they're like ants in an anthill, and there's just people everywhere, and everybody is the same in a way.
Yeah. Well, and of course they're making robots, right? They're not making
Right.
Christmas decorations. They're specifically making things that are meant to be the same,
Right.
just like they sort of are. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to call something else about the beginning of the story as well. And so something you said earlier, Colby, about this story not being science fiction. And so coming into that, so this is from my perspective, starting the story, not knowing what the genre is or what it's about, I have to keep it open that it is science fiction. So
Sure.
the opening the opening couple of pages actually, really read like the narrator is not human. If
What do you mean by
don't
that?
know, so the way the narrator is observing everybody, so he marvels at this accretion of humanity and at how in each moment somewhere on earth such a mass of people goes about their day. Who are they? What do they want?
It's almost
feel,
like a
do with their
God view or
lives?
something.
A foreigner.
A foreigner view. Okay.
Well, it is a foreigner view, but it, not knowing that it is in science fiction, it comes across as, an alien viewpoint. This is an observer of humanity from outside of humanity. And so that's kind of how it's presented in the beginning. So not knowing that isn't science fiction, coming back and rereading it, it is very much the foreigner viewpoint.
Yeah.
But it kind of gave that feel of the narrator not even being human. And so now linking that to this, robot and this metaphor of, everybody being, all these robots being the same, that's almost like what he's trying to find out is they all appear to be the same, but he knows that there are
Oh, that all the
You know-
people of China are kind of the robots that are the
yeah.
same?
So,
Yeah.
he wonders if there's a set personality archetypes such that it's possible to know every type of person that has ever existed if only you could map them onto the right template.
Sure.
So an interesting connection then again back to that.
Yeah. That's an
building
interesting
robots.
point. Yeah. I mean, it's very expertly crafted, that's for sure. Like, the writing style is...
It was a little
It's-
above me. I was a little lost.
You were a little lost reading it?
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a kitty, though. We got
There's
a
a
kitty
bit-
in our video.
Bit more depth.
Yeah. That's good, though. So one last question, and then we'll call it quits on this. And they don't all have to go 45 minutes. This is a perfectly fine story. Do you think that the guy made the right choice by, like, going going to the other city, having the poem read, doing it to sort of solve his own curiosity? Do you think that was a fair choice on his part, or do you think that was, like Ashley said, just selfish?
Potentially, we don't see the ramifications of it.
And I think
Yeah.
it depends on what he does after.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What does he do with the story?
All right, so can I tell you like a stupid fantasy I had after reading this story? I really hoped that he, like, Emily Dickinson, this lady's book. You know how, like, Emily Dickinson, she wrote like 1,700 poems, died having only had a few published, and then her sister got them all published after her death, and then she became Emily Dickinson. I thought that'd be really cool if that happened with this, where the guy, like, got them all translated and got them published. And so now there's, like, some random lady that, like, doesn't even know
Right.
she got famous in America for writing all these, like, poems or you know, whatever.
That would be pretty cool.
Story of her life. Yeah, I don't know. All right. Any final last words? This is a very mellow story we read.
It is.
I'm okay
Yeah.
with that. I'm totally okay with that.
Actually, sometimes a nice change of pace.
It is a nice
Yeah.
change of pace. Yeah, it is a nice change of pace. So, just as a reminder, like and subscribe. Support us on Patreon. We just got our biggest Patreon supporter just like a week ago. Somebody signed up for $25 a month as a Patreon supporter, which we've got lots of $5 and $10 people, but this was our first $25 one, which is super cool. So he got all of our books. Like, I basically, like, here, take it all. Like that scene from Big Bang Theory where Sheldon gets the DNA from Leonard Nimoy, and he gives Penny all of the Christmas presents. You don't remember which shows the way I did. He's like, take it all, it's not enough. At any rate, so he got all of our books in print form, and we just really appreciate it. So you can also support us on Patreon at afterdinner.com, After Dinner Conversation, Facebook, websites, all that sort of stuff. You can go everywhere now. It's every place. And that's it, I guess. We talked last time about how we always say goodbye like we're hanging up the phone, but I'm going to say it again. I don't care. Goodbye. It was nice talking to you about this story.
Bye.
Nice talking to you too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed listening to this, please like and subscribe. It helps us out a ton. You know, the vast majority of people haven't liked and subscribed, which means maybe it shows up in your algorithm, maybe it doesn't. So don't leave that to chance. Just go ahead and hit that button, and we'd sure appreciate that. And that way we can keep doing what we're doing, and you're not left to the whims of some algorithm. Thanks.